I'm going to defend social media. I know. Half of you are cheering and half of you are not cheering. You're angry at me. So let me explain. Until things change, social media are not state-owned companies. They are privately owned, privately held companies, and they can make their own decisions. Now, I find it interesting that there are people who defend social media making choices because they need to stand up for what they believe is right. And then at the same time, a bakery is to be shut down because it stood up for what it believed was right. Because it didn't make a wedding cake. But in the end, if you're going to be morally consistent, you have to be morally consistent. It's a private company. They can make their own decisions and they have to live with the consequences. YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google have all decided they're going to make a stand, right or wrong, whatever you personally, the person watching this thinks, they have the right to do that, folks. It's a privately owned company. It's not censorship. Censorship is when the government does it. If a company wants to shut down and not let 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of their customer base be heard, okay, don't use them. I know what you're saying. But they dominate the industry, okay? Come up with something else. And if they silence you at that point, then you can have an argument with them. But in the end, it's their company. They have a right to silence the voices that they believe need to be silenced. Until the law changes, YouTube, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all have a right to run their company as they see fit. And any libertarian, any liberal, any conservative who says, that's not fair, you're right, it's not fair. But it's legal. And they're perfectly within their rights to do it. If you don't like it, come up with your own solution. But that's hard. Yeah. It is hard. Okay. They came up with one. Why can't you? The most powerful force in the United States today, the most powerful force in the world today is you. You, your individual voice, needs to be heard. The world, the darkness out there, needs your voice to overcome it. Not a collection of people. When a group of people get together and force their opinions on somebody else or some other thing, that's a thuggery. That's just pure, simple thuggery. There's no difference between a group of people getting together and shutting down a bakery because that bakery didn't make a cake. There's no difference. And a group of people getting together and shutting down Parlor because they didn't act the way they wanted them to act. There's no difference at all. Zero difference. Not a white power sign. That's an okay sign. There's no difference. But it's your right to not do that. We're in the United States. Freedom of speech doesn't need to exist if we all agree. I agree with you and you agree with me, why do we need free speech laws? We don't. Because we all agree. I'm not going to shut you down. We need free speech laws for those people whose voices we find distasteful. I personally am offended at a DNA level by Nazis, by white supremacists. 50,000 American soldiers died during World War II. Millions of people died across the world to shut down that awful, awful ideology. But is there a reason for silencing them other than they offend me? Because I will defend those idiots to speak, just like I would defend Antifa to speak, or Black Lives Matter, or Shining Path, Sendero Luminoso. You have a right to have a voice heard. I know this is an unpopular thought. There's people on both sides of the equation getting furious at me, but your voice deserves to be heard. But guess what? You can't force somebody to listen to you. You have a right to be heard. You have a right to stand on the street corner and say what's on your mind. Nobody has a right to hurt you for that opinion. I want to stress that. Your right to speak ends at my nose. Can't touch me. I have a right to speak. Be as angry as you want. But your right to speak ends at the tip of, you can shake your fist and it ends at the tip of my nose. You can't touch me. I can't touch you. But you can't force people to listen to you. You can't go to YouTube and say, you must play my Nazi video. Bullshit. No, I don't. Do you get the difference? I know it's bad. And I know all these social media giants are shutting down voices, and it's a dangerous precedent. Boy, I hope they change their mind. But they have a right to do it, folks. You don't like it, change it. There's an article today on Harvard Business Review, how to hold social media accountable for undermining democracy. And the money quote here is, yet there does not seem to be the will to reckon with the problem. Mark Zuckerberg did not choose to block Trump's account until after the U.S. Congress certified Joe Biden as the next president of the United States. Given that timing, this decision looks more like an attempt to cozy up to the power than a pivot towards a more responsible stewardship of our democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. And while the decision by many platforms to silence Trump is an obvious response to this moment, it's one that fails to address how millions of Americans have been drawn into conspiracy theories online and led to believe this election was stolen, an issue that has never been truly addressed by the social media leaders. 2016, Donald Trump won the election, and for 4 straight years, we were told Russia helped Donald Trump win. To this day, Hillary Clinton believes that she was legally the person to be president of the United States. To this day. No attempt to silence her. Interesting. But that's incidental. She can say whatever she wants. Donald Trump can say what he wants. Short of an open call for violence. And still waiting for proof of an open call for violence. The likelihood that social media played a significant part in steering Ashley Babbitt, the person who was murdered, down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories is high. For a later time, we'll do the rabbit hole conspiracy. But we will never know how her content was curated, what groups were recommended to her, who the algorithms steered her towards. It's terrifying. That's absolutely a terrifying idea. I have long advocated that governments must define responsibility for the real-world harms caused by these business models and impose real costs on the damaging effects that they have on our public health, our public square, and our democracy. Okay, who gets to decide? The person in power? What if in 2024 or 2028, it's Ted Cruz, it's Marco Rubio, it's Kristi Noem from South Dakota? Does she get to decide and impose real costs for the damaging effects that they are having on our public health? Do you see? The issue with this is who watches the Watchmen? Think about it.